Hey everyone, welcome to our team meeting. Tonight we're going to be doing our PD podcast discussion and talking about the podcast from Rachel Hollis with Lindsay Matway talking about MLM secrets to success, how to grow a great team how to build a great team to grow your direct sales business. But while we wait for some people to hop on, show me your nails. I want to see them. Okay, what are you wearing, Nellie?
Bordeaux Glitz and Capitol Hill.
Ooh, that's a pretty combo.
Yes.
Hi, Lynn. Oh, Candy's got what are those called again?
It's Ghostess with the mostest.
Oh, Ghostess with the most. I just got my Halloween nails, because we just got back from vacation, so they all came in the mail. So fun. I have naked nails right now because I'm doing them tonight. With Halloween nails. Who else wants to show me their nails real quick? Anyone else? Liz, are your nails done? Lynn? Caitlin? I see your faces. All right. Well, we're going to get started. We're going to jump right in. Let me mute everyone really quick and then we will start chatting. So tonight, I love having our personal development podcast discussions because I learn a ton from you guys and from the podcast and from taking notes. And this podcast I listened to twice, and really glad I listened to it twice because you always get more the second time. So I will, I'll share my thoughts, but I want to see if anyone has any thoughts they want to share first, because I don't want to be the only one talking. So did anyone have anything that really stood out to them? Any aha moments, any just nuggets of wisdom that you really took away from this podcast that you listened to that you want to share? Be brave, unmute yourself, and share your thoughts. I think I heard someone unmute themselves.
Something.
Is that Abigail?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, let's hear it, girl.
Okay, so I love that she said that it took, she had like a ton of people, but it took her a lot of years. So sometimes we get a little discouraged because we're not at the point where we want to be, but we just need to be persistent, and we don't have to get discouraged because it took her a very long time. When I heard that she had like over 70,000 people, I was like, oh my gosh. But then she said that she had to build her team for eight years. So we just need to keep pushing and being persistent, and we don't have to just give up. It's gonna take time, but we're gonna get there.
Amen. I mean, yeah, she's been doing it for 8 years. So things just take time. In fact, I was talking to a new stylist today, and she said the funniest quote, and I have to quote her. She said, "You can't beat Tyra Banks by Tuesday." And I was like, yes, girl. That's such a good quote. It's like Beyonce wasn't built in a day. You can't be Tyra by Tuesday. It all takes time. Am I right? So yeah, it might be 8 years. But it's worth it in this business. Oh my word. It's not really a matter of if you'll reach your goals. It's a matter of when you're going to reach your goals, because the comp plan's insane. And the product's so dang easy to sell, and it's an amazing business. So, thanks for sharing that, Abigail. And you guys, I'll tell you one of the reasons I chose this as the podcast is because, so I used to be, I don't know if you knew this about me, I used to be a Beachbody coach. And, so the girl that was, being interviewed by Rachel Hollis, her name's Lindsay Matway. So I've been following her for years, and she was one of my inspirations. I loved her story. And it was kind of like a rags to riches story and just how much she overcame. And I love her, that she wants to leave a legacy, and she's just so like humble and down to earth. And so it was fun to listen to her and learn from her and be inspired by her. I literally took like 3 pages of notes, so I could go on and on, but I want to hear any other thoughts you guys might have, things that stood out to you.
I just appreciate, as well as she's done, the fact that she said that she had a lot of stylists who she felt like she saw the vision for them, and sometimes they didn't see it for themselves, because that is so where I am with my little young team. And it is very discouraging, but just that I can only work on myself and lead by example. So I really enjoyed that. And then the book that, I don't know if it was Lindsay that mentioned it or Rachel, but High Performance Habits, I immediately got it, and it is amazing. But I listened to it on Audible, and I've got to get the actual book so I can go through and
You can take notes. And
yeah, it was really good.
I got it too. I downloaded it, but I like have to focus on the book I'm reading right now, or I'll jump around and I'll never finish anything. But I got it, so that's on my list to read next. I'm excited.
I'm not done. I stopped after I realized I wanted the hard copy as well to have with me.
Like I need to. Yeah, I know. Sometimes you just want to like mark it up and
yeah.
But I loved that point that she made. About that not everyone sees, because I'm the same way. I see, and this is how I am with my kids, this is how I am with, I see so much potential in people. Like I can see people going big, doing amazing things. I feel like it's like a gift that I have where I can see their potential and like kind of guide them in that. But they have to want it for themselves, and you can't, and same with your kids, like,
yeah, same.
You can inspire them, you can encourage them, you can be a good example, but you can't do it for them. And that's the hard part.
It's hard.
It's so hard. But that was such a great thing that she said is like, where did I write it? Because I want to quote her almost exactly, but
she talked about having to set expectations and set requirements. And I wish she would have gone a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
Because like one thing that I struggle with my girls is that since you did a team, I think it was a team meeting you did where you have the questions that you ask your girls. I think you started doing that right after I signed up. So I've done that with my girls since then, and it's been very helpful to know, how much, where do you want me to come in? So I know what they're looking for out of me. But I'd love to know when I have someone and they're interested in it as being a hobbyist, it's really hard for me not to push them when I see the potential for them. So that's a fine line that I kind of struggle with a little bit.
Right. It's tricky. And I think the key is just continuing to build the relationship and sort of be there. It's kind of like with your kids.
Yeah.
You're struggling, just loving them and being there for them for when they are ready to change and they are ready to take the next step. And, so I do think, and that's one of the things she said was to be the kind of upline that that you want your upline to be.
Right.
And that's something I really wanted to touch on with you guys is that Lindsay Matway didn't really have an upline. And I love that she didn't use that as an excuse. Like for her, it was, your success is not determined by your upline. It's determined by you. And that's what I loved about this whole podcast is it was all about coming back to you and looking inward at what you can control, which is you. And like, and not, blaming it on your upline or whatever, insert excuse, right? But really taking accountability and saying, what do I need to improve and what could I do better? And yeah, just like really taking accountability. So I loved that message she shared. anyone else want to share their thoughts or nuggets of wisdom they took away?
It's not on the podcast itself, but something that you're saying. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I saw, like, I get Josh Coates emails, right? And I don't know if you get them, but today's, it was really short, but he was just talking about we can't take credit for people's success. So why do we take credit for their failures? You know what I mean? So that sometimes as leaders, when we don't see people doing what we see the potential of them doing, they just have to want it, right? And we, in our role is to help, encourage, show them, teach them the ropes, but they have to take it. And so he was just encouraging, that little thing just reminded me, like what Lindy was saying, we can't control that piece. So we can just encourage, show, and guide, right? But we can't take the credit for them not doing it, them not getting there, blah, blah, blah. We just find the ones that have the same like-minded, business mind, business heart. Those are the ones that we can run with, right? People who want to run, we run with them. I don't know. So that's kind of a little tangent off of that, but made me think of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Lindsay wrote, so we use attraction marketing within our groups to entice our stylists as much as we do in our recruiting efforts. Yes, it's true. You're going to have people who want to run, and you're going to have people that want to power walk, and you're going to have people that want to just walk. And there's going to be people that are just still in bed watching Netflix. So, and it's like, you just kind of take them as they are. And, one big thing is to remind, first of all, remind yourself of your why. That was one thing Lindsay said, was she made a vision board for her, for what she wanted out of life, and not just herself, but what she wanted for her family. Because sometimes I think as women, we think, oh, well, I think women so often put ourselves on the back burner, and we feel like we're being selfish if we want something. But if you want something for your kid, which is what seemed to motivate her especially, was like she had a picture of her daughter on her computer or vision board or whatever. And that was really the driving force. That was the why that kind of pushed her to really get out of her comfort zone and everything. So she just that reminded her why she was doing what she was doing. It gave her that fire it gave her that fuel to push through and do hard things. And I think that's so important. And so we have to remember why we started and ask ourselves if that's enough. And maybe if it's just something for yourself, maybe that's not enough. Maybe if you're like, no, I want to do this so that I can help my husband pay off debt, or I can help for me, I wanted to help my husband quit his job because he hated his job. And sometimes it's more motivational if it's for someone else, in our family, like a child. We want to be able to take our kids to Disneyland or whatever it is. Sometimes that is almost more motivating than something for yourself. But you really have to just kind of dig deep and decide if that why is strong enough. Is that why strong enough to make you show up every day and do the work? So, and I love the idea of just always having a reminder somewhere of your why, write it down on a piece of paper, tape it by your computer, tape it on the back of your door, and remind yourself okay, and your why is going to evolve. So, for us, we just barely paid off my husband's law school loans, which is freaking exciting. So we are checking things off, and it's so exciting, you guys. And so now it's hey, now what? What are some other goals we have? And it's just cool to let that why evolve. And once you do this, you check it off your list, and you dream bigger, and you dream bigger, and you just keep going. And it's so possible with this business. So anyway, And Rachel Hollis said, you become what you focus on. I loved that. So, so we have to like sort of look beyond, we have to like see the big picture, because I think a lot of, you know, sometimes, and this is something she said when she first started, she had her first roadblock where she was like, well, crap, I don't really have an active upline. They're not really working the business. She was hoping all the stars would align. And I think that happens sometimes as like new stylists, you know, where like they want all the stars to align. They want to have like instant sales or instant comments and likes. And that's not how it always works. And she said she had like a moment where she was like, well, maybe this isn't for me, you know, and she had to push through that roadblock and remember her why, remember that picture of her daughter. And that kind of helped her push through, because it's the start. I mean, my first 3 parties were a flop. Like the stars do not always align when you're starting a business. And sometimes it takes a long time for them to align. Like she said, she did it for 8 years, you know? And that's the biggest thing I see is people wanting to quit with the very first like roadblock, that very first. And so it's the people that are like, nope, I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to be here in a year. And they realize like, and they're just committed and consistent. Those are the girls that are going to be checking things off their vision board. You know, it's really about the consistent daily efforts. Any other thoughts you guys want to share? We got lots of girls who, I want to see your faces, guys. Show me your faces. And I want to hear your thoughts. So unmute yourself, be brave. I know somebody wants to share. All right, well, I'll keep talking, but raise your hand or unmute yourself and interrupt me if you get brave. Another thing she talked about, and this really has nothing to do with business, but I'm going to cover it anyway, because a lot of us are women and I have been through this before. So, this is coming from experience. But one thing she mentioned was that when you look better, you feel better. And that is something, I mean, I have 4 kids and I remember, I'll tell you a little story about myself. So when my second was a newborn, I had like a mommy meltdown moment where I called my friend and I was like on the phone and I just started bawling. And I was like, I haven't even had time to like pluck my eyebrows, like, because I have a unibrow if I don't pluck, you guys. I'm like Bert from Sesame Street. It's not cute. And so, I was like, I don't even have time to pluck my eyebrows. Like, and she was like, girl, you have got to take care of yourself. I mean, and you think about like how you were as a teenager. Like as a teenager, I would like lay out my outfit the night before and like give myself like 30 minutes to an hour to curl my hair and put on my makeup and stuff. And it's harder, obviously, if you're a mom and your kids are interrupting you or tugging at your leg or whatever, or we get busy and whatnot. But I just realized that I did not feel good when I didn't look good. And she was saying, you know, you don't have to like have like the lashes and the big hair and whatever. It's really what she said, it's really about looking a way that makes you feel good about yourself. And that I think is absolutely so important. And that's why I am very passionate about fashion, because of the way it makes me feel. And because, like I said, I have 4 kids, ages 16 to 6. My outfit and my makeup are one of the very few things I can control. I can't, you know, you can't always control what your kids do. You can't always control what your husband does. You can't control what your team does. But by golly, I can control what outfit I pick. And I can, you know, and I can put on some makeup. So it gives me like a sense of control. And it just makes me feel good about myself, even though I work from home and I could be in my pajamas all day long if I wanted. But, and I'm not saying that I always look dolled up, because that is not the truth either. I definitely, like, I'll usually give myself, I call it Ugly Monday, where like I will just, like, we're not even trying on Monday. But so, you know, give yourself a free pass, but not every day, because I can guarantee you the days where I'm like in sweats and I don't put on makeup and I don't brush my teeth, and I feel it and my actions reflect it. So I had to go off on that tangent because I'm extremely passionate about it, because I have lost myself, you know, from motherhood, from giving, you know, to my family, and then putting myself on the back burner, and then I feel like crap, and then I'm bitter, you know, then I become like bitter, and I'm just not as happy. I'm not as productive. And like Lindy's saying, my productivity plummets when I have a pajama day. Isn't that the truth? And that was one thing she said. I thought it was funny. They were saying, you know, this is a podcast. And Lindsay was like, well, I brushed my teeth because I always feel better when I brush my teeth before the podcast because I always feel better. And it's not like you can smell her breath through the podcast, but it's about how you feel. And that's one of my missions, is to help empower women to look good, feel good, do good, because it has a ripple effect. When you look good, you feel good, and then you do good. And that's what I believe this life is all about, is doing good. So that's my tangent for you. Any thoughts on that, or anything else from the podcast you want to discuss?
I would say, excuse me, look, I'm under the weather and feel, you know.
I'm sorry, girl.
But everything that you're saying is absolutely true. And right now, okay, I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my 1-year-old actually had a long NICU stay. So like the past few years have been like totally kid-centered and centric. And I, like yourself, felt like I've lost myself along the way. I've stopped taking, you know, the same care and taking care of my appearance, and, you know, even just the weight gain that you have after you have children. Totally. And so, you know, the times that I take a moment and it's like, okay, let me fix my hair, let me put some makeup on, let me find a really flattering outfit, it really changes the tone of the entire day. You know, even, you know, from my personal life with my husband and just being a little bit more flirtatious, or or, you know, just my interactions with people. So now that, you know, I'm brand new, I've only been with you guys for a month, but I'm definitely making more of an effort to say, okay, let me take care of myself for a moment. Let me make sure my eyebrows are plucked, or little things like that, so that if I'm just making a run to the grocery store or the post office, hey, I'm about to present a sample and I need to look a particular way. I need to say, hey, you know, this is, I'm confident in who I am, and I'm about my business, and give you something to admire, as opposed to I'm that mom that's frumpy and beat up because, you know, I've been up all night with my children, or just whatever the case may be. So, you know, showing value in yourself, I think, is what comes through to other people and makes them want to say, okay, well, I'm interested in what you have to say or what you have to offer, just because you're giving off this positive energy. But when you don't feel good about yourself, that positive energy is not there.
So true. And I have noticed a pattern that, in fact, I've asked women to rank themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. And the women who had the higher rankings were also the most successful. So I truly believe that your confidence level is directly correlates to your success level. And so it's really important to do things that make you feel confident, you know, whatever that is. And so I thank you for sharing that. I totally agree. And that's one of the reasons I love Color Street, is because I don't know about you guys, but I feel so much more put together just when I have my nails done. Like, I'm like, okay, like you feel like you're good. You're on top of it because your nails are done, right? If nothing else, our nails are good. So that's one of the reasons I love it. It's like, again, one of the few things we can control, and it's fabulous. Any other thoughts you guys want to share?
No, but that's funny that you said that, because when I'm feeling really gross and my nails look great, I just want to do this. Don't look at me, just look at my nails.
And And that's the other thing I love too, is like, I could look like a hobo that day, but I can take a killer nail fee, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have to have a good face day, but if I'm having a good, like, you can still take pictures. When you're, you know.
I wanted to tell you something. Thank you for sharing all your beauty tips and your workout failures and your workout, successes and all that stuff, because it is encouraging women, you know what I mean? And not just your team. So I went and bought that little thing that you did, that Try It Tuesday or whatever. Oh my God, because I realized what you were saying. Like, I get chin hairs, girls, and I forget because we get so busy. And then I'm out in public and the first thing I'm thinking is like, oh crap, they can see all my chin hair. So I have that with me in my purse now. So anyway, it makes me think of you sometimes.
Awesome. I'm glad that's helping.
I love it.
It's the little things, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And someone said, heck yeah, I did my nails today for the first time in a while. And oh my gosh, major confidence booster. Am I right? Yeah, it's totally true. So it's just the little things. And sometimes if you just pick one thing, you don't have to like do a full body makeover. Just be like, hey, maybe today I'm going to wear like mascara. And sometimes it has a ripple effect. So like, I'll be like, oh, well, I just have time for mascara. And then maybe I'll be like, oh, I'll add some lip gloss. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll put on some earrings, or, you know what I mean? It's like, so just start small, and it really does have like a ripple effect. So that's my tangent right there. We have like 10 minutes left. So if you guys want to share, please chime in. I love hearing your thoughts too. But let's talk about some of the other things that she said. One of the things I loved was, well, first of all, she said, she talked about how she shattered the glass ceiling for her. She pushed herself out of her comfort zone and was able to reach a big goal and sort of like shattered the glass ceiling. I like have chills talking about it because I love that visual. I'm such a visual person, and I love that visual of like, hey, how far can we push ourselves? And not to say like, I'm not saying burn yourself out. I'm just saying reach for big goals, and see if you can. It's insane what can happen with this business if you just set a goal and try to accomplish it. And one of the things she said she did was she made it a goal, and this is impressive, was to talk to 100 people per day. That was, I don't know if you guys your minds were blown, but my mind was blown right there, because that's a lot of people. She was trying to earn a trip, and she said she was going to talk to 100 people per day, and not just, copy and paste, but she tried to like, really personalize the messages and stuff. So that I thought was really amazing. And it just shows you that, that's a big goal. So whatever I'm like, I'm definitely have never done 100 per day. So it's like, there's always room to grow. There's always I always tell my kids, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So, trying to challenge yourself in this business and beat your best. That was another thing that I got out of this. Was it seemed like she was always, she's been doing this for 8 years, and she's been in the top 10 for a lot, like, several years. And I think a big part of why she's been in the top 10 is because she's always kind of pushing herself and trying to grow personally, because she's a huge fan of personal development. That's another, I'm very passionate about that as well, because you can only go as far as you grow. And so it's so important to continue, taking trainings, learning about social media, reading personal development, joining the personal development podcast team meeting. Like, this one is our lowest. I think it's very interesting that this is always our lowest attended meeting, but I feel like it's like one of the most important. Because as you are growing, learning, and progressing as just an individual, your business will grow too. Like I was saying, when your confidence is higher, your business succeeds more. So I loved that she really kind of pushed herself out of her comfort zone all the time. And she said she failed forward. And you guys know I always say, fail it till you nail it. And I'm such a big fan of that because, like, even with my kids, I'm like, make mistakes, like go make lots of mistakes now. Like now's your chance, make a ton of mistakes because that's how you're going to succeed. That's how you're going to get better at anything you do. I can't tell you how many mistakes I've made, how many businesses, I've ran, and some have been a flop and some have been okay. And anyway, it's all about like, fail it till you nail it. Any thoughts regarding that? I want to hear more from you and less from me.
I have a thought.
Okay.
So my thought was, you said something about setting goals or expectations, like you'll go for what you put in front of you. So when I first started with Color Street, I didn't set like a numbers goal. I just knew I wanted to be BQ. I don't know why for the longest time that was my goal, like BQ, because that's all, I guess, you know what I mean? That's like the biggest push. Anyway, I think in April, I said I was going to go, I started averaging like $600 a month. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I think I could do 1,200. So I said in April, I was going to do 1,200. And I think I've done, if you look at, I think I've looked May, June, July, August, September, 1,200, 1,200, 1,300, 1,405, like that. You know what I mean? Just from switching the focus. And then we decided to turn it onto our teams. So Michelle and I run our team together. We have a little over 300 girls. And last month we were like, let's do it. We've been talking about BQ for a long time. Let's push for 1,200 and let's incentivize them. We were like, is it too big? Is that too much of a big jump? Okay. So we had 8 people in August. And then all of a sudden in September, girls, 31 team members hit 1,200. So we went from 8 to 31. I mean, Michelle and I were 2 of them, so we got 29. Okay, so we went from 6 to 29. So, and it's all, I think, a mindset thing. It was just we talked about it a lot, and we showed a whole bunch of ways to do it, and we showed how to break it up into, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I think we don't put those huge goals in front of us because it's like, ooh, if I go for it and I don't hit it. But what if you don't the first month and the second month, but you do the third and fourth and fifth? You know what I mean? Then it becomes like, okay, it's been crazy. So I just wanted to share that whatever you put as a target in front of you is usually what you're going to hit. And if you don't have a target, then you're just aimlessly hitting it, whatever.
Yep.
Right. So
true. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that's so true. I was just thinking about my pattern. Mine was like, I don't know. I mean, I remember when I very first started, I was like, hey, it's going to be a miracle if I sell $300 in nails because these are only $11. Like that's a lot of nails, First month I was like, how am I going to do that? But my goal was to hit the $1,000 jump start. So I'm like, that's my goal. Like I'm going to do it. I have no idea how. And I remember them saying that, like in the podcast, they said, I didn't know how, but I just went for it. And it's about like, I call them moon goals. Shoot for the moon. And even if you land among the stars, like you're still reaching high. So, don't just hit the minimum. Like 300 is the bare bones, what you should be selling. Shoot for the moon, and it's not going to hurt you if you shoot for 1,200 and you only get 800, but just trying to constantly push yourself and beat your best. And that was another thing she mentioned was when she stopped comparing herself. She said that's when, things really started to change for her. When she stopped comparing herself she was talking about how she did P90X, which is a workout. When she stopped comparing herself to other people who'd done it or the people in the workout videos who'd done it and just said, I'm going to beat my best. I'm going to, I call it, don't look sideways. That is when she started to succeed. And so it's really about, and I know it's hard not to compare yourself. I think we all get caught in that trap, but if we can compare ourselves to ourselves, that's how you can, that's how you're going to progress. And that's how you can sort of let go of those feelings of jealousy or, comparison. Like you always hear that quote, comparison is the thief of joy. If you're comparing yourself to yourself and saying, okay, last month I sold $300 this month, I'm going to go for 600 or 1,000 or whatever. Just constantly pushing yourself and then comparing yourself to yourself. That is when you're going to succeed. And so I used to be a photographer. I've had all sorts of jobs and businesses. So I used to be a photographer, and I remember I used to always compare myself to other photographers. I would see their work on, blogs and Instagram, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want my work to look like this. I want, and it felt like almost like a punch in the gut when I'd see that. And it wasn't until I finally started looking back, on previous photo shoots and saying, did I do better than I did, a month ago or 2 or 3 months ago, that my work started getting better and by better, I mean what I wanted it to look like, because it's all about success is all how you define it, right? And so for me, it was like I wanted to look a certain way, and it wasn't until I started comparing myself to myself and pushing myself to try different things and stuff that my work started looking how I wanted it to. So I truly believe that if you can just try to beat your best and compare yourself to yourself, that is how you're going to succeed. So we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to leave you with a couple thoughts and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see. Sunny says, I've been a stylist for 6 months, and each month my goal has been to beat my previous month. So far, I've been able to do that. Holla! Good job, Sunny. I love that goal. That's so amazing. If you're constantly, pushing yourself, then heck yes, you're progressing. And then you can feel like, and that way you're not so much you're not saying you're not looking at the result, you're looking at the progress. Because that's another way we get discouraged, right? Is we're like, oh, like I didn't rank advance this month, or oh, like I'm not making what I want. But if you're like, oh, I did the work, that's how you can feel a sense of accomplishment and be proud of yourself. So anyway, we're about out of time and it's going to cut me off. But she said the biggest thing was to work harder on yourself than anyone else. So that was a big theme in this podcast. So if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. Or if you have, listen to it again because it was that good. But I appreciate all your thoughts. Thanks you guys for joining me. I love discussing this, and we'll see you guys on the next team meeting. Bye.